Welcome to episode number 52 of Roll or Die. Today we have a very special guest, JT, James Tomlinson, our first repeat guest on the show. You regular viewers or listeners might remember him from, I think it was around episode 10 or episode 12. We had him on last year, and we are very grateful to have him back on again. Welcome, JT.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that introduction, Kim. I appreciate being the first repeat guest. I feel honored. So thank you to both of you.
That's a big deal.
We just put out episode 50, so we really wanted to have a big guest on to follow it up. So to back it up, the next episode after, we know we're going to have a lot more listeners, a lot of people listening. So Anton and I said, let's see who we can get on, and here we are. Welcome,
Mate,
brother.
I feel honored. I'm excited. How can I be of service?
Well,
tell me what you
everybody wants to know in Melbourne is, when the fuck are you moving back to Melbourne?
Well, look, I'm not moving back to Melbourne too soon. There's a lot of work for me to do up here. It's unfortunate, Sydney is a nice place. Melbourne is the better city. We all know that. But I'm up here for a number of reasons. First and foremost is family.
Yeah.
My mum and dad are up here, and so I've moved here to be closer to them. And also my better natured half of Bulletproof, Joey, he's here. And so he and I are cooking up a bunch of things relevant to Bulletproof. So us being in a closer vicinity helps that happen. So really, as a point of contribution, Anton, and that's what I'm all about. I really want to actually help jiu-jitsu people.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was really just about my own jiu-jitsu, I would have stayed in Melbourne, but it's there's a bigger picture here.
I feel satisfied with that answer, brother. Thank you very much.
We since we last had you on, JT, we have, or I've started a thing where I put on in the background of my TV a video. So I just have your Bulletproof channel up in my background here, just showing the viewers, if people are out there listening. So I don't think the last time you were on, we managed to talk too much about Bulletproof. We talked about a lot of things, but we may have skipped over Bulletproof. So tell us about that. Tell us about that program. What is it? What does it do for people in jiu-jitsu? Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, look, Bulletproof, broken down most simply, is a strength and conditioning program specifically for people who do jiu-jitsu. So both between myself and Joe, we realize that people get pretty banged up, and they need something that's not only going to help them for jiu-jitsu, but help them off the mats. So, hard rolling does leave you feeling pretty cooked, and you also need activities that are going to help kind of iron out the kinks. So really the two main pillars of Bulletproof are strength and mobility, because we feel these are the two kind of biggest bang for buck things that you can do to help improve your jiu-jitsu. Now, a lot of people always say to us, oh, how about conditioning? How about running? Or how about cycling? Blah, blah. And really, we're of the philosophy that if you want to get fitter for Brazilian jiu-jitsu, you need to do jiu-jitsu. Like, if you're not rolling enough, like if you're not getting enough fitness from your rolling, you're not rolling enough. That's as simple as it gets. Now, are there ways that you can get fit for jiu-jitsu off the mat? Yes, of course. If you're stuck on isolation, you're somewhere in the world right now, you're not allowed to do jiu-jitsu, you're stuck in the bloody house, there are lots of ways that you can get fit. And you, Kim, know firsthand of all the magical conditioning ways.
Exactly. So yeah,
we had you doing a bit of the old Bulletproof.
That's right. So a bit of background. I joined Bulletproof as the lockdown was on, and as many of us know, especially in Melbourne, it was tough. Without rolling,
it was terrible.
You just weren't getting that conditioning in. And I guess nothing really replicates jiu-jitsu, but what JT put together was something that was pretty damn close. And really got me working with my conditioning. But I can't speak highly enough of the program itself, like just the standard program, the way it's set out, the professionalism of it, and it's a really good support for people training jiu-jitsu. I mean, I've been doing jiu-jitsu nearly 12 years, and it helped me. So I can only imagine if I'd started something like that much earlier in my journey, maybe my body wouldn't be as broken. My fingers probably would still look like this, but maybe the rest of me would be in better shape.
Well, look, I think it's a bit unfair, Kim. People probably don't, if they don't know you up close and personal, they don't appreciate what an amazing athlete you are and what a hardcore devotee of the gym that you are. So I think Bulletproof was probably more blessed to have you than you were to have it.
Cheers.
But that said, we are adding more content. So every 3 to 6 months, we add more content. So there will be a conditioning element coming soon because it's probably the most requested thing. And we do have certain things that we do relevant to that. We will also be releasing pure bodyweight and calisthenic training for people who have no equipment. So we know a lot of people around the world who are locked down right now. They've got no jiu-jitsu, they've got no gym. What do? So we already have a home gym program as part of Bulletproof for BJJ, as well as the gym access program. And we also have the kettlebell program. We will be adding more to that. And I also have a secret. I can do a little reveal here for you guys, which not a lot of people know. We will be doing a Bulletproof for BJJ challenge. And this is something which kind of has not really been done in terms of really showing people where they're at for their strength as well as their flexibility. And people can get a rating off the back of doing the Bulletproof for BJJ challenge. Nice. So this is coming. This will be up this year. We'll be posting it. We'll be promoting it. It's going to be worldwide. We're going to be pushing it. And so you can get a ranking off the Bulletproof for BJJ challenge and see where you sit in the world of fitness for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
That's so cool. So yeah. I guess it sounds to me like you're taking some things from the world of, say, CrossFit, something like that, where you've got events. Is that what you've got? Something like that, and you participate?
Not so much CrossFit. Like it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I understand the comparison there, Anton. It's more around, for example, like a lot of times, classic things people say, "Oh, what can you bench?" Which is a very redundant question, right? Because even though within powerlifting, you know, don't get me wrong, I love the classic lift, squat, bench, dead, you know, like I'm all about it.
Yeah.
Benching for jiu-jitsu is actually not that helpful. If you're bench pressing someone off you, that means they've passed your guard. You are in bad town. You need to work on your guard retention, right? Like you're in trouble. You shouldn't be benching. You should be working on improving your guard. So the lifts, the movements, the flexibility tests will all be applicable to jiu-jitsu, and it will be power to weight ratio as well. So there's not going to be a bias against if you're a smaller human, it is going to be relevant to your body weight. So if you don't have good like relative strength, then you're not going to do so well. And really our goal is to try and set some benchmarks and standards for strength and flexibility within the world of jiu-jitsu.
Awesome.
Yeah. Can you talk as well about like some of the mobility stuff? That for me, when I joined the program, that was probably the biggest eye opener for me. Like, I don't know, I am a little bit older, but I guess I assumed that my mobility was pretty good. And it was quite humbling actually to do some of the mobility workouts on this program that were harder for me than the strength stuff because I did not expect that I would be so lacking. So I don't know if that's from years of jiu-jitsu or what it is, but
look, it's just being human, you know, like partly it could be accumulated tightness, but it can also be our day-to-day lives, right? Like all of us as adults, whether you are someone who does a lot of sport or you're someone who sits down a lot, whatever your level of activity is, different things will tighten up your body. So the way we break down doing flexibility and mobility training. So we actually, Joey and I will be releasing a Bulletproof for BJJ podcast in the next week or so, week or two. So that'll be a fun thing. And we go deep on a particular subject for about 30 minutes. And today, literally, we did a full podcast on flexibility and mobility. So let's break that down. We're talking static flexibility. We're talking dynamic flexibility. And we're talking flexibility with a degree of load. So sometimes you get people out there who say can do the splits, or they're super bendy. They're what we call like a wet noodle. They're very floppy. But if you put some load on them, they can't move at all. So what we look at with our mobility training, we're talking like your pre-class warm-up and your pre-lift kind of routine is to get your body prepared for activity. So this isn't sit in the splits and hang out. This is active ranges of motion to activate the muscles we need to switch on and to actually kind of get the muscles that might be overactive, like hip flexors, pecs, delts, anterior delts that are usually habitually very tight, to just calm the hell down so you can move more freely. So when you go to roll or you go to lift, it's actually easier for you. We've taken the handbrake off your joints.
Very cool.
So when we talk about mobility, that's really what we're talking about. And then once you finish training jiu-jitsu, one of the biggest things we promote is just taking 5 to 10 minutes to help loosen up the tightness in your body from rolling. Because the internal environment of your body at that stage is like a Bikram yoga studio. You know how it is when you're after training, you're just pumping sweat, you feel elastic, you feel alive, you feel great, or maybe you feel a bit crumpled, you feel like a crumpled, sweaty Coke can. But this is a great time, as opposed to just lying on the mats. We're not saying don't hang out with your mates. We're saying hang out with your mates and actually do some stretching, down regulate your nervous system through breathing exercises. And that way, when you leave the mat, you're calmer. Your body is already in the process of recovering. You've got more blood flow to tight muscles and you're going to sleep better. And those are two key points. Then on top of that, we also have our dynamic and our static piece workouts that you can do outside of jiu-jitsu to improve your flexibility. And I think they're the ones you might be talking about, Kim.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome.
For sure.
What I'm thinking about, like, I'd love to know a bit about, like, as this business has evolved now, and I know it's gone, like, it seems like it's mostly online, if not fully online. But I'm wondering, like, what surprised you through this journey? Because it's been like a couple of years now that Bulletproof BJJ has been going.
I feel like what we're seeing more and more is that everyday people are far more kind of crippled or banged up, not necessarily from jiu-jitsu, but just from life.
Right.
You come to jiu-jitsu, your body's already banged up, and then you're going to put it through the blender. One of the problems is people find a thing they love, and then within the first 12 to 18 months, they're getting a serious injury, like borderline surgery level injury. Because people aren't preparing their bodies, and they're also, here's the thing, it's the fine print, right? When you join jiu-jitsu, no one says, hey, come do this awesome thing. You're probably going to have a crippling injury within 12 months. It's probably going to cost you $5,000 in surgery. The physio is going to be about $1,500 or more. You're going to be sitting on the couch a bit. You're going to take a lot of painkillers. You may develop a dependency and suffer a serious bout of depression. No one is selling that, right? But it can happen to anybody, right? It can happen to any one of us.
Yeah.
And it's happened to me. And I wasn't even, I was a little bit further into the journey, but you find this thing you love, but the thing that you love is going to break you down.
Yeah.
So I think what we're trying to do more and more, one, we're trying to improve how we communicate our ideas and training philosophy. So we have our community group on Facebook. So every Sunday night, I'll do a Facebook Live for anywhere from 30 minutes to 50 minutes, trying to answer questions and address people's different confusions around different ideas as to how you improve your body for jiu-jitsu or improve your training, nutrition, sleep, all these things. Also, we're trying to communicate more of the ideas in the program. So we've put out a lot more content through our Instagram, just so people can just have access to it.
Yeah.
And I think, honestly, the next thing is, how do we get it in people's lives? Like, jiu-jitsu is community, jiu-jitsu is rewarding, but stretching your glutes and your hip flexors doesn't feel very rewarding. Actually, it feels like it sucks.
Yeah.
It's just painful. It's just like, why am I doing this? Do I hate myself? God,
Yeah.
And the truth is, it never gets better. Not you don't get more flexible. It's just you actually get more tolerant to the discomfort. Now, yes, your range of motion improves. Yes, your joints are safer. Yes, you are healthier. But even when you're really flexible, when you hit your end range of motion, it's uncomfortable. It still hurts almost as bad as that first time you stretched. And all you can do is relax and breathe through it. The reason why we do it, it's just like eating our vegetables, right? Like if you get good at making salads, it's going to be tasty. But if you suck at preparing vegetables, it's going to be the same old crap, right? And you're going to hate it.
Yeah.
So what we've done is we've gotten really good at preparing some tasty salads to get those vegetables in there, to make sure you're getting that healthiness in there. It's like when you cook for kids, right? You got to hide the vegetables, you know? You got to mulch those carrots up in the bolognese so they can't see them. Similarly, we try to make sure with our strength training, their full range of motion movements, so the person is not only getting stronger, but they're getting more flexible at the same time.
I wanted to pick your brain a bit, JT, if I could, about sleep. You mentioned that earlier, and
Yes.
I'm doing probably the majority of my training in the evening, and I'm finding that
Terrible. Stop now.
hard to wind down. Just the way it is with my life, I'm not able to, unfortunately, train during the day. You know, lunch classes and stuff are a rarity. So I'm aware of the things that I need to do, the stretching, etc. I am doing that, and it helps a bit. Can you suggest any other tips for people that are having trouble winding down if they're not getting off the mat till, say, after 8 p.m. and then they have to get up early the next day?
Okay. Yes, I'm with you. I have been one of those people. I am one of those people. I have been one of those people. The nights when I train, because I usually won't finish training till almost 9 o'clock if I train at night. And that's why I generally prefer not to train at night, because it stuffs me up the next day. You know, I get up 4:30, 5 o'clock most mornings. So I teach morning class, and I train with my students in the morning as well. And, you know, I want to get my night training in. There's 2 key things that you can do to help bring your nervous system down, like reduce, you know, reset your central nervous system to take it from that really hectic, over adrenalized kind of sympathetic nervous system, bring it back down to the parasympathetic. One is literally lying still for 5 minutes and doing diaphragmatic breathing. So it sounds funny, but literally lying still and just focusing on, you know, in through your nose, out through your mouth, you know, expanding through your diaphragm as you inhale, letting your diaphragm settle back down when you exhale. Simply lying still for 5 minutes and doing this will bring you down, say, 20, 30%. This is helpful. This is like usually if you post stretch, but most of us never make time to do that. The second thing is hot, cold. So, okay, for the most of us, we don't have a bath and a shower. You know, most of us just have a shower if you live in an apartment, some houses as well. Ideally, if you have a bath and a shower, and if you're not fighting with your kids for bathroom dominance, you know, ideally what you would do is put cold water in the bath. It doesn't have to be icy. It just needs to be cold. You go hot shower, blast out your quads, because that's the majority of where the blood will be, is in your lower extremities, quads and hammies and calves. Hot water, as hot as you can stand without actually burning your skin off, 30 seconds. Then you go and sit in the cold bath for the same amount, 30 seconds. You do hot, cold 4 or 5 times. This has an amazing effect at resetting your nervous system, flushing new blood into the muscles, and calming you down. The other thing is you have to review is your body temperature as you sleep. So whether you wear a trackable or not, you need to actually cool down your sleeping environment. Some people have a mat that they lie on that has cool water in it, like you can regulate the temperature on it depending on what's going on. There's all kind of fancy things you can get. But generally, I advise people to sleep cooler for deeper sleep. But the hot cold piece is absolutely key for getting your nervous system to down-regulate.
So you reckon a bath, it wouldn't work to just do it in a shower with like turning up the hot, turning up the cold?
You can do it in a shower, definitely. You can.
Yeah, I do have a bath and a shower though, so yeah, if I can get my kids out of one of them, I
That's it,
should
isn't it?
be
It's
able to.
availability.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's right.
Your kids are huge too. So
Yeah. Cute.
Take everything.
What is about to turn 21? What are you talking about? Cute. They're past the
Kick
cute.
him out. Kick him out.
So the way I see it, JT, is like in Absolute, for example, they're very keen on the warm up. The warm down is usually overlooked, right? And that's everywhere I go as well, by the way. It's not an Absolute.
Yes, that's pretty much every jiu-jitsu gym ever.
That's right. And the way I see it, like sometimes I drive past a school and it says, we participate in the Resilience Project, which is like this mental health thing for kids, right? Teaching them to deal with anxiety and depression, etc. I guess what I'm thinking is, do you see a future where Bulletproof for BJJ actually integrates at a club level, where and the club
definitely. So
for their students, and
so right now we actually have gyms who have a gym subscription.
Mm-hmm.
So the gym pays a gym level subscription, and all of their students get Bulletproof for free.
Oh wow, that's really cool.
And so it's actually very economical. Like let's say, for example, you subscribe to Bulletproof for BJJ and you pay approximately $12.50 or $15 a month, which actually, as far as subscription services go, is very cheap. But let's say, for example, the gym is paying, I don't know, I don't know exact numbers, but let's say, for example, the gym pays $150. They could have 100 students accessing our program for free.
Yeah, got it.
So the next step on this for us is to actually do instructor training in the Bulletproof approach.
Yes.
So then we're talking certifications, we're talking kind of certifying gyms and really explaining the secret sauce and the science behind exactly why we do what we do and sharing that with the broader community. So yes, that is the vision.
Beautiful, man. I think it's so important. And like, if it was part of a class, like the last 5 minutes was an actual, even, and it could extend out, or I don't know, this is your domain, but I see that if it was part of my curriculum there, part of my stuff, it wasn't an optional extra, stay behind and do this, but a gym could really promote that they have less injuries, especially for beginners and all these sorts of things, which would be, they can even then use the whole, you are going to end up with a $5,000 injury and all this sort of shit if you don't do this.
Anton, that's never going to happen. No one is ever going to be that honest.
Yeah. Well, that's the world I want, brother. Let's push through.
No, I understand. I appreciate your idealism. There's nothing to say that stretching after class is going to stop Bailey Huang from sprawling on your neck. Okay? Shout out Bailey. You know who you are.
We got to get you
a great talker of absolute MMA.
He's got to get on the mats first, huh?
Well, that's true.
Sorry, Bailey.
When he's not cheap, when and like whatever. Look, a big human jumps on your neck and cranks your neck.
Yeah.
If your neck is stronger, it is less likely to break. It doesn't mean it's not going to happen, right? Injury strikes, what can we do? But you've got to say, if you're insured, you're better off, right? Like, strength training is insurance when it comes to injury. It doesn't mean you're not going to have a smash. I think this is one of the biggest problems. People think, oh, I don't need insurance, I'm a good driver. No, you're insuring against other people who are terrible drivers.
Yeah.
Someone smashing into you. You need your structures to be strong. You need your tissues to be resilient. So when someone bends your arm inside out, it doesn't break.
Yeah. What would you suggest then for people, like ratio wise, with their jiu-jitsu versus strength training? Like how
I'm going to say, if you train jiu-jitsu 3 times a week, you need to do strength training twice a week, and you need to be doing active mobility and flexibility work 3 times a week. So essentially 3 jiu-jitsu, 2 strength, 3 flexibility, mobility. That is the magic ratio for a happy jiu-jitsu life. If you want to do less jiu-jitsu, that's fine, but you're just going to suck. If you want to do more, you'll get good, but you're going to get messed up. So if you do more jiu-jitsu, you actually have to do more strength training and more mobility, not less.
So like if you're doing 5 to 6 classes a week, what do you?
You need to do you need to be doing mobility. Every day you do jiu-jitsu, you need to do mobility work. That's what it comes down to.
Got it.
Yeah, it's a lot of time. I don't think people tend to invest that time. It's
No,
people
it's
are
the
pretty
hidden
time poor,
cost.
so they skip it.
It's a hidden cost. It's not time poor. There's no one's time poor. Time is relevant. Now, when you're sitting in hospital and you're on painkillers and you had knee surgery, what's your time then? Your time
And
is
you got all the
fucked,
time. Yeah.
right? Like you're no good.
Yeah.
Essentially, we have energy, and where we put our energy is the most important thing, right? If you have no energy, your time is irrelevant, right? If you're sick, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
So we have to be very wary of where we put our energy. What we're really good at doing is spending our energy on things that don't give us a return. When you invest time and energy into stretching, it gives you a return. Same thing, we get a return from jiu-jitsu. The only issue is this. If you go to the gym and lift some weights, provided you do it correctly, you should not injure yourself. In the same way, when you do flexibility or mobility training, you should not injure yourself. But when you go to jiu-jitsu, you might get injured. As rewarding as it is, it's risk versus reward, because you might come away from that and you broke your thumb. Now that might really hamper your job if you do a job that involves your hands. Or someone cranks your arm and you are a brickies laborer, how are you going to make your money? You know, you can't get workers' compo for that. So really, and you think it shouldn't be too hard to sell, but really we've got to be much more conscious about looking after ourselves so we can stay on the path. We don't want to be quitting at purple belt because we're so messed up. We can't see the path to black belt. You know, it's a long road. So you got to be prepared. And strength training and flexibility training is something which in and of itself is beneficial, but will also just keep you on the mats feeling better for longer.
Great. And just switching gears, because I know we're running out of time, but how is the world of judo going? Is it still progressing? Is it going well?
Yeah, it is. It's progressing very well. Thank you for switching gears. I'll just
hey, there we go.
Logo. It's going exceptionally well. So last year I finished the first draft of the book for judo.
That's right. And the book. I forgot all about that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's coming, man. It's coming. So I have it's currently in edit. It's having its structural edit done, and the editors read the first draft and they liked it. And basically the feedback was super positive. There was a few recommendations just around like some structure and a few things, but essentially I'm not a writer. You know, I tell stories. I love a good yarn. I like a tale. And so I've tried to take some different stories and different lessons I've learned from martial arts and condense it into this book. But I guess the way I would like people to view it is it's the Jujutsu Harry Potter. You've got this young, measly kid who gets bullied and his salvation is Jujutsu. And I won't go super deep into it, but the first book, the first one of two of the Jugo books will be out by June, July this year.
This is amazing. And actually, just on that, what I just read the other day was books where there are people like publishers, etc., and they think it's a good idea but needs a lot of work. They are the ones that tend to go really big, because essentially if someone's fully formed as a writer, resistant to changes and all of these sorts of things, a lot of those books don't tend to go big. But I just read some fact somewhere in a book the other day that when you've got a good idea and it needs work, that's a good sign. So.
Well, I mean, look, I think, really it's semi-autobiographical, it's a little bullied kid, and that little bullied kid is me. Yeah. I was that little nerd. I wasn't skinny, I was fat, but I know what it feels like to get beat up as a kid. I feel powerless. It's terrible. It wrecks your self-esteem, it wrecks your self-image. And I used to hate myself because I felt like I was useless. Not because of my parents. My parents are loving parents, but they couldn't help me. Yeah. My dad wasn't teaching me how to fight. My mom told me to just go to the principal and I would just get beaten up worse. it's only after I found martial arts and I got the self-empowerment and the confidence and the kind of, I guess, the skills to feel like I could back myself up and stand up to people, that my life started to change. And really, that's the story of Jugo, but he finds jujitsu. But there's many other stories interwoven. And there's also a bit of a mystic element because he makes best friends with the son of death. So I'm not going to, so he has like, everyone thinks he's crazy. Like he's got this imaginary best friend, right? But the son of death gets kicked out of the family because he doesn't want to be a reaper. So he says to his dad, I don't want to be a reaper, Dad. He's like, what are you talking about? It's the family business. You have to be a reaper. He's like, no, I don't want to be
was a reaper. My father's father was a reaper.
Like you have to. And he's like, no, it's like being a vegetarian stuck in a meat-eating family, right? Like, you know, there's a lot of kids out there feeling that pressure to join the family business and they don't want a bar of it. And that's the character Marrow. So Marrow and Jugo team up. And that's another little element. But essentially, the story is broken into 2 books. And the second book is where Jugo becomes an actual super. I won't tell you exactly how, but he actually is the world's first jiu-jitsu superhero. So the first book will be released around June, July, and the second book will be out before the end of 2021. It's really coming along, and the Blue Belt expansion for the game will be out before the end of the year as well.
Amazing.
Awesome. Well, we are very glad that you did find Jiu-Jitsu, JT, and that your knowledge can be spread amongst the community. So thank you so much for taking the time. You're a very busy man, and we're very appreciative to have you on. As I said, our first repeat guest. So hopefully we can have you on again in the future to share your knowledge.
I'm very grateful to have both of you doing this because it takes a lot of courage and hard work to create something. And that's what you guys have done. And I really respect that. So thank you to you both. And shout out to everybody who's on this path. The Jiu-Jitsu path is a very challenging one, but it's worthwhile. For all the injuries and all the bullshit, I wouldn't give it up for all the friends and community that I've been able to be a part of. So if you're listening to this and you're hitting that moment where you're like, man, I don't know if I want to keep doing this, hang in there, reach out. You always have someone you can talk to. You can talk to me. You can talk to anybody who's been on this path a long time. Speak to a black belt and they'll tell you, hang in there. It's worth it.
100%. Yep. Thank you, JT. We will have this podcast out soon. So if you get the chance to share it, that'd be awesome. It'll help grow our community, and look forward to seeing what the future brings for you. Sounds like you've got a lot in the pipeline.
Excellent. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Anton. I really appreciate you guys.
Thanks, JT.
Cheers. Thank you. See you soon. Bye.
See you guys.
Bye.